For today's show, I get the pleasure of being joined by Darrin Barney. Darrin has a very fascinating background, along with what he's currently doing with coaching shops, and really doing a fantastic job at that. And I'm just excited to dive into a bunch of stuff that are probably even personal things for me that I need to learn and get better at. So, Darrin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jay. Really looking forward to being here. And I appreciate it. It's an honor to be able to be here and just be able to meet with you. And yeah, excited about it.
Me too. So, tell us a little bit about the company first and foremost, about Elite. What do you got going on there?
So we do coaching, consulting, training for shop owners and general managers and service advisors and help elevate the automotive industry. It's something we're really passionate about. We've been doing it for, oh, the company's 33 years old. I bought the company almost 3 years ago. So yeah, we have a record of doing it, and I'm a result of it, which we'll talk about later. But I really enjoy
Yeah,
helping other shop owners. So yeah, it's great.
yeah, it's really cool, and you guys do a phenomenal job. I've heard so many shops. Jasper Engines is partnered with you. Like
Yeah.
they've always spoke very highly of Elite, and it's just it's really cool to see what you guys do, because it does have a big impact on shops across the nation. I do want to ask, what got you into this world in the first place? What got you into automotive?
Well, I mean, it started with my when we each got our Eagle Scout award. Dad bought each one of the three boys a Jeep, and I was the oldest son, and so or the oldest child. So when I got a Jeep, of course, anybody who knows anything about Jeeps knows how much of a pain in the butt they are, and they're always breaking, especially the mid '70s ones. So I had a '77 CJ when I got my Eagle Scout award, and I was 14 at the time, and it was always breaking and giving us issues. So between myself and then my two younger brothers, when they all got their Eagle Scouts, they got their Jeeps too. And so there was three Jeeps plus my dad's Jeep in the family. So four Jeeps always broken, and we just had to learn how to work on them. And it became a passion. And in high school, it was funny because the people always joked about the Barney's garage because people would bring over their vehicles to have us fix them. And so I mean, it wasn't uncommon at all to come over there, and some day after school at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we'd be pulling a Jeep, an engine out of some Jeep, and then go to a junkyard, go buy another one for 50 or $100 and put it into somebody's vehicle. And it was just kind of, what we did. And it was just a passion of ours. So, I mean, that's where it started. And then, it just kind of turned into, it continued to grow and took a leap of faith and started the shop. And yeah, I mean, it's just been fun. Enjoy doing
That's
it.
What a cool gift from your dad, by the way, to get a Jeep. That's pretty awesome.
It was. I mean, I think he found out how to incentivize the three boys, and get them to achieve something he wanted us to achieve, which is our Eagle Scouts Award, because it was the highest at the time. It was a very cool thing to do. Um, it was really, yeah, highly regarded, right? And so we had to work really hard to get it, and he wanted us to do it, and he found a way to motivate us to do it, and it worked. So yeah,
Good motivation. Yeah, good leadership right off the bat. Yeah,
that's
he knew what
right.
the carrot was. Yeah.
He
So
did.
so you go from that to starting a shop. Was that something that happened like immediately after you
Oh my goodness.
graduate, or what was the origin story of the shop?
Well, so I went to work for another four-wheel drive shop in Fort Collins, Colorado, called Fort Collins 4x4. At the time, it was the best shop around. It was one of the best places to work. We used to buy parts from them, and I started out as a parts guy. And so it was my job to go around and check in every part that came in, and then make sure it got tagged and put into will call, and then call the customer and do all those things. And I did that for probably a year or so, and then they saw something in me, and they're like, "Well, let's put you on the counter and see how you do." And so I really enjoyed that, and I was able to help people, and that was fun to be able to go and help you as a customer to get your Jeep to, if you want to lift it or you want to lower it or whatever it is you want to do, to get you what your needs were and identify those, and then work you through the solution. I just loved it. So I did that for a long time, and then the shop actually was bought out by another gentleman, and it was a huge culture shock because I went from going through like take care of people, do everything that you can to take care of your customer, to this new guy who buys it. And he was just all about the money, right? And it was such a different world than what I was used to. Cause it was like, I remember literally my boss calling me in the office and saying, "Hey, we lost $50 on the freight of this ticket because you underquoted it. Let's make sure we don't do that in the future." And I'm like, "Well, what do I need to do? Do I need to pay out of my pocket? She's like, no, the shop's going to cover it, but we can't go to the customer because, we believe that you quoted it wrong and it's just how it is. And so the shop is going to eat it. So we came from that exact opposite of the customer is always right. You do whatever it takes to make that customer happy, to then this new guy buys it. And it's like, we're marking up freight. We're doing all these things to be profitable, which I totally agree with. But it was like some of the stuff was very, borderline with ethical. It was more like, let's just get the money in as quickly as we can, and it's like, and it didn't feel right. And I worked there
Doesn't feel
probably
right.
another year and a half, right? And then it was like, I just couldn't do it anymore. So yeah,
So where does that lead you to then?
that led me to my brother and I decided to start a shop. And we knew a guy in our area here in Grand Junction, and I lived in Loveland at the time in Fort Collins area. And we knew this guy, and Chad was good friends with him. And he's like, "Well, hey, let's start a shop." And this guy already had a business; he already had everything we needed. And so we were going to adapt from his manufacturing stuff to a four-wheel drive shop. So I moved over there, and I mean, I met with him numerous times, and finally I moved over to work with him. And Chad was already living here. That's my younger brother. And the first day, I'm like, something is not right here. Something doesn't feel right. We're not turning jobs like we should be doing. And it was just everything felt off. Anyway, I worked there about 2 weeks, and we were in there working on this old Jeep. My brother and I are working together on it, and the lights go dark, and we're like, this is weird. So anyway, we're
Uh-oh.
like, what the heck? Yeah. So we go out there, and they shut off the power. And so literally the guy out there, the meter reader guy is like, well, yeah, you're the 3 months behind on the electricity. And so, we're shutting your power off. And I'm like, we're in here working. And he goes, I'm sorry. He's like, we've given them as many extensions as we can. And, the owner was out of town. I forgot to mention that, but the guy that actually was the building guy that had all the stuff, he was out of town. And so we're like, what do we do? So we're sitting in the dark, and we're talking. We're like, what are we going to do? And the landlord comes over and he goes, yeah, you owe us $12,000 or whatever the dollar figure was, 12 or 14 grand for 3 months of back rent. And he's
Ooh.
like, and Chad and I are like, what? And the guy goes, yeah. He goes, well, this other person's name. He says, well, he told me that as soon as you guys got here, that you guys would be squaring up and paying off the back, rent. And so my brother Chad and I were just like, what in the
Oh,
world is happening? I mean, it was amazing. Literally that afternoon, they came and repoed the guy's truck. And I mean, everything just hit on this one day. It was that bad of a deal. So Chad and I were just like, what do we do? And that's when we decided to start a shop. And
wow.
yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Wow. I can't
yeah.
imagine just the emotion that you were going through, you and
Oh
your
my
brother were
goodness.
going through at that time, because there's so much uncertainty. You probably, and I'm sure maybe the thought had crossed your mind before, like maybe you want to do your own business at some point,
Of
but
course.
like also just to have it thrown on your lap in like a day, that
Oh yeah.
it seems like a lot going on.
It was crazy. It literally in one day, all this stuff like the world fell apart, right? And so it was just like, what in the world? But looking back on it now, I mean, Chad and I both weren't confident enough to start a business like that.
Yeah.
We had a lifeline. We had this guy that had already been doing it, and that's why I moved over. My wife was a school teacher, and she had our house. We had this nice house on the Front Range, and I was going to move over here until she could finish out the school year. Then we'd sell that house and move over here. And I mean, we had all this stuff like the best laid plans, right? But I mean, without that happening the way that it did, we never would have taken that leap of faith. Because
Isn't that
literally this is,
crazy?
I mean, a cool story is that we didn't have the money, right? We didn't have the money to start a shop. And so we went to these banks, and literally like banks laughed at us, and they're like, you don't have anything. And they're like, you have this house, but it's recently purchased, you have no equity. And we're like, okay. So anyway, my mom and dad went with us to a lot of the banks. And then so finally we'd been to all these banks. We went for a drive up on the monument, which is here in Grand Junction, and it's just beautiful. We're up there driving, and my mom and dad are following Chad and I in a car. We got up to the top, and we pull over, and my mom comes up and we're standing around talking, and she says, well, your dad and I talked it over, and we want to take a mortgage out on our house, and we'll get you guys 100 grand to get started. And Chad
Wow.
and I are both just like, wow, because I mean, we'd been to the banks. We'd literally had them laugh, and they're just like, you boys don't have anything. And so their house was paid off. And so to have them do that, it was awesome,
Oh,
because it's like,
that
what do you do? Right. So,
unreal. and it's crazy. Like everything happens for a reason, it feels like, right?
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
for you to kind of be pushed into that when maybe you weren't ready. I think was probably a blessing in disguise, right? Because it
Totally.
forces you to kind of make some stuff happen. And I do think, even from my own experience, I think there's been a lot of times over the course of my career, professional life, where there were things where I wasn't comfortable, or that, you even starting a business, I give you a lot of credit for doing it. I did a similar thing where I think everybody thinks you're crazy at first, and you
Oh
do
yeah.
it, and it takes time, and it takes way more money than you ever think it's going to like get things off the ground. And I experienced it with my dad's shop as well, like with
Right.
with him getting that off the ground, where you really don't take a paycheck for a while, and
Yeah.
you're just, it's hard. Unless you go through it, I don't know that there's a book or anything that can really truly help somebody understand the difficulties of that.
And then the funny thing is that it's just something that you do, because you don't have a choice, right? I mean, you're going to make it work. And so, I mean, that's the way I felt. Is it's like, even when times got really tight, I didn't have the choice of not paying. I had to take care of, because it's my mom and dad's house. It's the childhood house we all grew up in. The one I was telling you about, we're pulling engines out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, literally that house, and it's like, there's sentimental value. It's not only that, but it's my mom and dad. The house was
Right.
paid off, and they were so proud of the fact that they'd worked hard to pay off that house. For them to do that, there was no option of failure. It just never
Wow.
was. Whether it was paying mom and dad for the payment or not taking a paycheck, you just paid mom and dad,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's just, there's no option.
Oh, it is just crazy to think about, but it also, I think, I'm sure. How long do you think, like, kind of going back in your memory, did it take for it to start to get off the ground?
It took
Like, where you,
forever.
yeah.
Oh, well, so we grew very fast. I mean, I feel very fortunate and very blessed, because we grew very fast. We doubled every year for years.
Wow.
And so, I mean, and that's, I mean, we were doing $1 million before we knew it, right? Because we were so good at taking care of people and fixing vehicles. But we had no idea about how to run a business properly. So yeah, we're turning dollars, but we had no profit. We had no money. I mean, it took us a long time to finally go to Elite, which is, the company that I bought and own, to get help, because it's like, we are killing ourselves here, and we have all this work, and we're 2 months out, but yet we have nothing. There's no money in the bank account, but yet we're doing millions of dollars. And everybody's like, man, you guys have this hugely successful business. And we're meeting like famous people that are coming to our shop. And it's like the most awesome thing ever, because we built it, but we had nothing in savings. And I remember once we met with this accountant, and the accountant goes, um, you boys might want to rethink this. He's like, you're not even, he says, you're at 0.5% profit. He's like, why are you even doing this? And I'm like, because we love what we do. And he's like, yeah, but this is foolish. He goes, you're not making any money. And it's like, but we didn't see it that way. We just saw that we were so busy, and we loved doing what we do. I still enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a long time. I mean, you're talking 15 years of that, of growing and just being, this huge company, and having all these employees, but not making any money, until we hired Elite. And then Elite says, wait a minute, let's start doing these things differently. And it wasn't like, let's just start ripping people off. It's like, okay, you need to make sure you're inspecting all these vehicles, because people are bringing you to lift them, because we do off-road lift kits and stuff, right? And they're like, make sure that you're inspecting all these vehicles. And so all of a sudden we're like, hey, do you want us to go ahead and do these ball joints and these brakes while you're here? And we're doing this lift kit. And the customers are always like, yeah, of course. I want to get my vehicle
Yeah.
lifted. And so why not? So then we're doing all these other things, and it's like, whoa. And then we start turning more of a profit. And it's like, wow, this is actually cool. We don't have to worry about where money comes from for payroll. It's like, it's there because we're being profitable, you know?
And it's funny. I think there's so many shops that have that exact same story, right? Where you
Right.
you struggle for years and years and years. I've talked a lot about our family's, the impact that coaching had on our family's business, and how big of an impact it was, because my dad was the same way as you, right? Where we had gone, I think he was getting to 20, 25 years, and it was just kind of getting by. And what's interesting, or what was interesting to me, is that when you team up with somebody that sees a lot of businesses, oftentimes it's easy for that person to kind of look and pick out the low hanging fruit to start to get things in the right direction, right? And
Right.
it sometimes just a different set of eyes on something can mean the
100%.
world. And it sounds like maybe there was some of that in your case as well.
Of course. I mean, you only know so much, and especially, I always joke that it was like we're two hillbilly boys. I mean, rednecks, whatever, that just knew how to fix vehicles and take care of customers. That's all we were, and so it's still all we are. And to have somebody come in with that, just a different set of eyes and not be invested in everything, and somebody coming to you and being like, "Hey, you may really like this guy, but he's only billing 20 hours a week. You should be doing 40." It's like, I understand that you like him and he's such a good guy and he's so good at what he does, but he's only billing 20 hours and you're paying him for 40. And you're like, okay, what does that mean? Right? Because we just didn't
Yeah.
know. We had no idea. I mean, it's my foolishness. I didn't know. And then to have somebody come in and be like, you know what? Let's try doing an incentive based pay where they get it above this certain amount that they've already been doing, then they're going to get more money. And you're like, oh, okay. So we
Yeah.
work through it and then you go out and you try it. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, now we're hitting 30. And then it's like, okay, then we try more. And it's like, and it just, the guy topped out at 30. So then my coach is just like, well, um, but imagine if this guy's actually doing 40 or 50 hours and he does the math and he shows you and you're like, wow, we could be making twice as much money. No way. And it's like in our world, it's like, that's so cool. It's like, wait a minute, how does that work? And then to have somebody just explain it and work you through it. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have all of the resources that are available now. We were just fumbling our ways through it,
Yeah.
So it was nice to have that second set of eyes, just like with you guys. Your dad did it for 25 years, and then all of a sudden you get this coach, and it's like, I mean, I'm sure the same thing happened to you guys. Just that different
Yeah.
set of eyes.
Yeah. It really is. And something as simple as a proper parts matrix, right? And
Oh my
getting the
goodness.
parts properly marked up. That is one where I feel like if you don't have familiarity with the parts side of things, that can easily get away from you and
Yeah,
not, I think you lose a lot. And it's funny because looking back at it, I think there were times when a lot of times where he would make nothing at all,
of
or
course.
very little, and then there'd be some random part that he'd make way too much on, and you're like, no, 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 like let's get
Yeah,
get this in order so that you're properly charging everybody.
right. Well, and that's the thing is that in our world, we just didn't know, and we would go in and we would just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make $20 on these brake pads," on a $200 set of brake pads, and you're like, "Wow, $20? Seriously?" But I mean, we just didn't know. I mean, I had no
Yeah,
idea, and I was on the front counter. I take sole responsibility because I just didn't know. I mean, it's my own fault for not thinking it through, right, not knowing, but it's part of the journey.
I had a boss once that told me, "You don't know what you don't know, and that's okay." And
Yeah,
I've always kind
totally.
of lived by that. Like I think you're much further ahead if you can just say, "Hey, I don't know this, and I need help with this, or I need to learn more
Yeah,
about this." And just truly own up to the fact that there's some things, not everybody's great at everything. I don't think I know anybody that's great at everything.
no,
So understanding what you're weak at and just getting help in those areas is so, so hugely important.
it is. That's the biggest thing is that's one thing personally I have a really problem with is when somebody acts like they know it all and they know it all. They have all the answers, and it's just like, because it's like, how can you know it all? I always tell my team, both at both businesses, Barney Brothers or Alita, it's always like, we're playing in the sandbox. We're going to screw up. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's just keep moving forward. Now, if we keep making the same mistakes over and over again, then that's different. We're going to have a
Yeah.
conversation. But if you're going to try something and it fails, I don't care as long as we're going. It's like back to Thomas Edison and all that stuff, right? It's like he invented the light bulb how many different times and it failed all those times and finally he gets it correct, right? It's the same way I believe in living life the same way. It's like, I'm going to make mistakes and you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Let's just keep going, right? Because if we quit and give up, then it's like, what did we gain? We didn't do anything. But if we don't
No, what was
try,
the yeah. What
yeah,
was the point of us doing this if if we
exactly.
were going to give up that easy, right? Like, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
I,
It's part of it.
how how did you and your brother work together? Like, it sounded like you were in the front at the front desk. Like,
Yeah.
how did you guys select what roles you were each going into, or was it pretty obvious?
It's pretty obvious. I am not a mechanic whatsoever. I mean, I do. I enjoy doing it and I can piddle around and fix stuff. But when it comes to fixing it for a customer's vehicle, yeah, I'm not the guy you want me working on your car. I can figure it out, but it'll take me 3 times longer. than what it takes my brother to do something. He's just one of those guys that's gifted. He looks at it and he goes, yeah, I need this, and he goes, and you're like, whoa, where I can do the same thing with helping a customer. It's like the customer's upset or customer wants something. I got it. I got that all day long. I can take care of that. And so between the two of us, it was really cool because I got him in the door. I took care of him and then he fulfilled the back part. And between the two of us, we really had a good team. I mean, to this day, it's like, holy cow, if I have any questions, you want to put I always joke about putting a roll cage in a Volkswagen bug, he can do it, or you can put an LS into whatever. And it's like, and yet I can take care of the guy and make sure that he's okay paying 100 grand to have us do that. Right. And it's like, that's just to between the two of us, we were good. Cause if we screwed up, which always happens because you're modifying a vehicle, I could just call the customer and work it through and take care of it. And I knew Chad would take care of whatever we talked through. And so together, it's like we just had a dream team like that. We still do. It's really cool. So
That is cool. It reminds me of the book Rocket Fuel, right? Where you
yeah,
have
totally.
the
Oh my
two,
goodness.
the two personalities that
Yep.
when working together really complement each other, and when who's got what side of the table here, it has a huge impact on a business. I
It
feel
does.
like that is a huge lesson for a lot of people.
Visionary integrator, I mean, it's such a huge relationship. And we had that because I was the visionary guy that was just like, yeah, we can do this. We can do this. And he's just like, okay, well, all right, let's go, and I'm like, we got to redo the showroom. And he's like, okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. I mean, it's just two different styles of personalities, but good Lord put us together that way where it's like, okay, we evened each other out. We still do. So
Oh, how and so I mentioned this to you before, but I am in the process of finishing off a restoration job on a 77 CJ7 myself right now. And I'd never had a Jeep before in my life, and I had not driven this vehicle. It was broken down when it got to me, but it was for my father-in-law. And similar to you, I am not the person you want working on customer vehicles at
right.
all. But this has been a lot of fun doing this and doing it at my own pace. And uh, there's been some things where I'm like, oh, this is frustrating, but it is fun when you have a little bit of time to think through the problem and
Yes.
think through like how you're going to put something together or whatever. But I say that with warning because I might have to call you guys with some questions at some point because we got it running, it's running good.
Awesome.
But there's always something where you're like in the back of your head, like, okay, did I hear that noise? Did I hear this? Or is this
You did
leaking?
hear
Or
that noise. You
yeah,
did
you're
hear
right.
that noise. Yeah, you did hear that noise. It's a 77. You got the weird one that 76 is its own animal because 75, I mean, Jeep sold to AMC in 76. So 77 is a complete mix up. The heaters are different. Everything is so messed up on that year.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
it's awesome, but I mean, it's just part of what it is. I mean, oh yeah. Yeah, you need help with that? Let me know because I live that one. I mean,
we joked around that I think AMC at that point was like or Jeep as a whole was like the Johnny Cash
oh yeah.
song One Piece at a Time, because you'd have like a Ford
Yep.
part here, a GM part
Oh
here.
my
It was
goodness.
just a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. Any motor company is what we always joke about because it means that it could be anything. Who knows what you got in there? I never will forget when a buddy of mine, when I worked at Fort Collins Ford before, had this old Bible, is what we called it, the Jeep Bible, and it would tell you what the valve cover said, what that engine would actually put out horsepower wise, what year it came out of, and if it had an aftermarket. I mean, if it had a factory cam in it. So you could get a
Wow.
304 with a 343 crank in it because they had it laying around and they threw it together. And it would actually tell you on the valve cover on that little, on the V8 anyway, it was on the driver's side on the little metal tag. And so we loved looking in that Bible and going, we go to junkyards and it's like, oh man, look at this thing. It's a 360 with I had a 304 with a 343 crank in it. And that thing was just a screaming motor because it was a stroker. But Jeep did it that way because they had it laying around and it told us that on the thing. And it's like, so I put that thing in my Jeep and it was like, everybody was amazed. Like, you only got 304 in there. How's that thing go? But I mean, that's part of the fun of, anyway, I got off on a side tangent there,
Oh,
but
I love it. I love it. This is right up my alley. And I think you're lucky geographically where you're at to be able to really utilize them, though, too, right? Like out in Wisconsin, we've got a lot of UTV trails. The Rangers have really gotten big here, the UTVs in
oh
general.
yeah.
But there's not a ton of great spots to go off-roading with like a Jeep, right?
Yeah.
And we've gone to some UTV parks across the country, and they're a lot of fun to go to. But shockingly, with all the farmland and everything we have up here, there's very little in the way of that. And when you go out in your neck of the woods, it feels like it's
Goodness.
everywhere.
Yeah. I literally last week was up with some people from Elite, from our pro service, our peer group. They came out and I went four wheeling with them. Right. And then I came back and I worked for a couple days. And then I went back again the end of last week to go down and do a Via Ferrata, which is rock climbing, like actually like rock climbing stuff. And then went four wheeling again. And I took a whole bunch of youth out four wheeling because it's only 2 hours from
Oh,
here. And it's in Uray. It's like, Silverton, and it's like a beautiful area. I mean, it just is beautiful there, So
yeah.
it's really cool because it's that close. But yet, literally in 15 minutes, I can be out playing in the desert and playing in snake trails, which are like in through canyons you can drive your vehicle back up into and get them all flexed out. And it's cool. It's a good place, close to Moab, 2 hours from Moab. It's just right here. So
I'm
yeah.
jealous. I'm jealous. I've driven through Moab before. That is a bucket list one for me to go
Moab's
to.
cool.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it when I drove past it, like I just drove through it, right? I was on a trip and I actually think I went from Denver to Phoenix. I'd driven from Madison, Wisconsin out to Denver and then Denver through down to Phoenix. And I made it a point to make sure I was going through Moab on the way down. So it
Yeah.
was it's a cool spot.
Well, that's next time when that Jeep's ready, you just let me know. And I mean, seriously, we'll go out and go four wheeling. I mean, I don't care where you want to go. If you want to go to Moab or you want to go to St. George or wherever, I go four
Oh,
wheeling a lot with customers and friends. I really do. I love doing it. It's just fun to go out and play. So yeah,
that is awesome. I definitely want to take you up on that sometime.
yeah.
Want to build a pipeline of young technician talent in your shop? Check out School Assist. Powered by WrenchWay and ASE, School Assist makes it easy for shops and dealerships who are looking for young technician talent to build relationships with instructors and their students. Schools post specific requests for things like equipment, tools, advisory committee members, shop visits, and more. Shops can view these requests and directly connect with program instructors all in one place. Over 2,800 schools and 2,000 shops are already using School Assist to build valuable connections. See if it's right for your shop. Learn more at wrenchway.com/school-assist. Link is in the show notes. All right, well let's shift to some of the business stuff and really, we talked about kind of what everything you went through to get your business off the ground.
Yep.
You grow this just awesome business. What led you to the elite side? I know you were getting coached there, but what kind of led you to like, hey, I'm going to buy this thing that changed my life?
Well, you sure you want to hear the story? I mean, you got time?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
1998, right around in that area. I was working at that place, Fort Collins 4x4, with the new owner, and he paid for me to go to training in Denver to go see Bob Cooper speak. And it was a 2 day called Fly with Eagles. And it was all about, or not Fly with Eagles. Shoot, I don't remember what it's called now. It was a high impact sales course is what it was. And it was a 2 day sales course for service advisors to go and learn how to sell. And so I just fell under Bob Cooper, a very awesome motivational man, and I just loved the way he spoke. And he spoke, and when he did, it just spoke to my soul. And it was like I went home one of those days, and at the time I was dating my wife, but we weren't married yet. And I went to go eat dinner at her house, and I just told her, I was like, you know what, when I someday I want to work for that man. I want to do what he does. I want to help other people and just turn the light bulb on like he did for me. And that was back in, like I said, 98. So then we were looking for a coach trying to, because I just knew I had to fix things. I just knew it's like we can't continue doing what we're doing. It's a whole nother story. I almost missed my dad passing away because we were so busy at the shop. And I just decided I had to change things. I just had to fix things. So I reached out to Bob and Elite and hired them as a coaching company for us. And that was in 2017. And so we hired them to help us grow the company and fix it and fix where we were broke. And I did really well with the coaching program, enough that they came to me and they're like, we'd love you to be a coach for us. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about coaching. And they're like, we'll help you. And I went and actually paid good money to learn how to be a good coach for people because I wanted to learn to be the best at it. Right. So I went and actually took training on being a coach. And then I kept growing clients and really enjoyed helping shop owners. And then Bob came to me and he says, "Well, I'd like you to actually teach our master's program, which is our service advisor sales training." I still teach it to this day because I love it so much, right? But I did really well with that too. And then him and Karen, we sat down at a place called Bernini's in California in La Jolla, and we were at dinner after one of the master's classes. And Bob says, "Karen and I've been talking about it, and we'd like to sell you Elite if you're interested." And I was like, "I don't know anything about running a coaching company, but I'm sure I can figure this out, and I'd love to, So I talked to my wife, and we were like, "Yeah, let's give this a go." And so, yeah, that's where it went. Then Bob ended up selling it to me 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. So,
Wow, what an
yeah.
honor too, right? Because Bob was a an
Oh my
icon in this
goodness.
industry, and to have somebody approach you, it's got to be pretty humbling.
It was because I mean, he literally was one of my heroes. Just somebody that I really looked up to a lot. I still do. But it was just somebody that really, I mean, I couldn't believe every time I go to dinner with them, I was always amazed at how I'm like, I can't believe I'm eating with these people that I have admired and looked up to for so long. And it was like a very humbling experience because they just were legends in my mind, right?
Yeah,
And so I mean, it was very a humbling experience to do that, and then actually be able to buy it, and then continue on with doing what we do. I mean, helping shop owners. They're so rewarding to watch shop owners grow and improve, and
yeah,
be able to get a life back where they can actually go and have time off and not feel guilty about it, and be able to actually have money and be able to help out with the neighborhood, the softball teams or whatever they want to do, and get back to the community and be able to watch their lives improve. Literally, we're changing lives. And I don't say that lightly. It's the truth because I'm living proof of that. Right? And my coach came to me a long time ago and he says, "Hey, what are you going to do for the future?" He's like, "We need to figure out where you're going." He goes, "We got the business dialing in. You really need to figure out where you are personally wanting to go." And so we had those discussions. But when you're so busy fighting those fires and trying to figure things out, you don't realize that you really need to be looking at the future and where you're going, right? You continue on
yeah.
that course of being stuck in that business every day. That's great and fine and dandy if that's what you want. But I wanted more. I wanted to be able to go and be a bigger part at Elite. And I told him that, I said, I really want to be able to help out more at Elite. And I want to be able to really help more people and be able to share my story and tell them that they can. I mean, heck, man, I had the IRS come and seize everything. They locked up all my vehicles, and it's like, I've been there when you have nothing and you're flat broke. I've been there. And then to be able to help people through and get out of it and figure out how to put money into savings and be able to build a life for you that you want and have the business fund it is a wonderful feeling, you know?
Oh,
And
talk
it's
about
like,
purpose, right?
it
That you
is.
you have that in spades.
Oh my goodness. And it's like, that's what I just love doing. I love just being able to watch the light bulb turn on and watch people grow and improve. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile is by helping these people. Right. Same thing back to the being in the shop. It's all about helping you figure out what you need. What can I do to help you to get there? And let's go, you know? So
How when you first got a coach, do you recall a time or maybe a thing that they instructed you to do right off the bat that was like maybe it maybe flipped a light switch on in your head, or maybe it was something where you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't we do this in the first place, or like why weren't we doing this before? Was there anything like obvious to you that like, hey, maybe if I had taken a step back I might have seen this?
there's two things that come to mind. First one is tracking numbers, how important it is to track the right things, and having to pay attention to, what your gross profit is on parts and gross profit on labors and how many billable hours and all those things. I mean, even your ARO, your effective, repair order, all that stuff um, was important, but I didn't know how to do it. And so, we had a tracking sheet I had to fill out every week, and I still fill it out. And it just helps me to know exactly where the company's at. So learning to track numbers was huge. Every person in your company needs to know what's expected of them, and I didn't know. I didn't know they had my counter guys knowing they needed to sell so many hours per day. I mean, that just never occurred to me. I just knew we needed to keep the techs busy. That's all I knew. So that was huge, is tracking numbers. And then number two, is setting aside think time to look big. And that to me was a world changer, and it's still something to this day that opened my eyes up, because when you're in the trenches and you're always putting, you're stomping out these fires that are going on, you don't know who's lighting the fires. And the fires will always be there. And so when you can actually step back, I've told the story 100 times probably, but I have a little yellow sticky note that's in my desk that I have, and it says "Do not disturb." And it is because I hang on to that note, because my coach forced my wife to lock me in my office and put a yellow sticky note on the door that said "Do not disturb." They got rid of my phone and my computer, and I had to sit in there with a pencil and paper and a pad and work on stuff that was important for the business. And so I was forced to get out of. I knew if I answered the phone when it's ringing, right, in a business environment, the phone rings. I know when I get it, I'm going to convert them. Even if they want a pizza, I'm going to tell them the best place to get a pizza. I know that no matter what, I'm going to do my best to help out that phone. It rang for me. So it was painful to hear that phone ring and know that I'm losing dollars there. But I'm now learning to look further in the future and go, I got to find somebody who cares for the customer as much as I did, that will convert those calls for me. So it frees me up to look at what it takes to grow the company. What do I need to do to make my techs be more efficient and to help them to be more successful? What do I need to do to market the company? What do I need to do for this, and this, and to look bigger rather than just, I got the phone, I'm going to do this. You're answering the phone's great, but you're not focusing on growing the business at that point. You're taking care of one customer, where if you do this right, you can look at taking care of, 1,000 customers if you do it the right way. And it took me forever to just to actually stop. I still have to force myself to do this, to stop and look big long-term goals. What are you going? What are you doing? Rather than, all right, I'm going to go do this right now. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do this, and let's do this. It's like, well, stop, recharge, think about where are you going? What are you doing next?
Did you feel guilty at first when
Of
you?
course. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. I
yeah.
still do. I still feel guilty. Oh my goodness. I have these days set on my calendar that are think days. And I still feel guilty on those days when I am working, but I'm not on the phone, or I'm not in a meeting, or I'm not doing a podcast, or I'm not planning for the future, like right immediate needs. I take this day and I still have goals and stuff I need to get done, but it's like I still feel guilty doing it, because I'm like, I feel like my whole team is like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?" It's like they don't care, because they know when I really can unplug, I come back with better ideas. And I actually come back with, insights and things that they're like, "Where did that come from?" I'm like, "I don't know." It just somewhere came into the head, because I cleared out and I let it all go, and I just whatever. I have a tractor, and I love to just go play on my tractor and just let my brain process and think. And my wife often will tease me. It's either play guitar, go four wheeling, or get on the tractor. And then she's like, go and you'll figure it out. And then sure enough, I just go out and I putz around and I build a ramp, and I built a racetrack for my kids in our field behind our house. And it has like jumps and a side bank and all this stuff. And it's like, I'll go out and play for a half hour and I'll build something for them. And then my brain just comes up with the answer. And then I come back in and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I need to do. And then I just run with it.
It's crazy how that works, isn't it?
It's
Like the
really crazy.
clarity that comes. And I think
Yep.
that's such good advice in general, to take a step away from all of the technology that's in front of us, everything
Yeah.
that's having a phone is a blessing and a curse. But I've often found on I fly quite a bit, and
Right.
on flights that's been really really helpful for me to not get a laptop out, or not have like I put my phone on airplane mode. I'm actually one of them that actually puts it on airplane mode.
Yeah.
And I if I have I bring a notebook along with me and just start writing, and it's crazy the amount of stuff that can come out of your head when you're not surrounded by distractions.
Yes.
It is really really good advice.
It is awesome. Because what do we do? I got my phone right here, right? But it's like we got some free time. So what do? We sit down on the couch and we get lost in our phones, right? And it's like we're getting that dopamine hit, or whatever dopamine. It's we get this just feeling of like we're good and we're relaxing, but our brain cannot process and take in that inspiration and that revelation, um, if we're constantly being distracted by a phone, you know,
Right. I
or
and I
TV or a computer. It doesn't matter what it is.
I am so guilty of this, and to the
Oh,
point to where I've thought about, and I always want to be available for work if somebody's reaching out, and I'm trying to do my best to take care of people regardless of what time. And I'm learning more and more, like step away. Like when you go on the plane, it's not that big of a deal.
Yes.
Like, and with my own family, it would be I'd be much better off if I just left my phone in my truck, right? Like just
Right. Oh yeah.
leave it so I'm not distracted by it because it is all consuming. I am as guilty as anybody
Of
with
course.
that. And it's hard to break that habit.
It is. I mean, I love planes too. In fact, I mean, my kids are always laughing about that because whenever we go on trips together as a family, I just today I was talking with my son about a trip we're taking, and he's like, "How long is the flight, Dad?" And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because I just know it's just going to be just time to be." And I've heard myself say that because I just love flying because I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I can try get working on the internet and I can try, but it's never slow and it
It,
never has worked for me, right? I can get on my
same.
notebook and I can work and that's fine because then I can actually, I mean, the back of my notebook that I write in every day, I love it because there's like all these notes of things that I'm going to do and ideas and like visions and stuff that I want to do for things. And it's like, I love it, but it's all comes from sitting there without being distracted. I love watching movies too, especially after I'm done doing a presentation. I believe that you deserve to break. And I love plugging into a movie on the way home from an event because it's like, dude, I've earned it. I can
Yeah.
do this. I can relax and I can just sit here and get lost in some movie for 2 hours. You know what? And I give myself that treat because it's like on the way out, I hate to say it, but I'm studying, I'm prepping. I mean, it's paper wise. I don't like getting my laptop out, but I love to study what I'm going to be presenting and just be in that mode so that I'm paying my dues, right?
I
So
do the same. I do the same. And I've I've come to terms with that a little bit too about, it's okay to watch a movie and it's okay. I really struggled for a while. And I think it was because you read like every business book you read
my
is like
goodness.
if you're not starting work at 3:30 a.m. and not, like it
Yep.
and you get into this cycle in your head that if you're not doing some of these things, maybe you're falling behind a little bit. And I think because of that, there's times where I'll again feel guilty if I'm like sitting down and watching a show or something like that. And my wife has told me multiple times that hey, it's okay to relax sometimes. Like you just
Yeah.
chill out. And I sometimes struggle to find that gear. I'll tell you that.
It is hard because I'm the same way, man. Every morning at 4:30, I get up and I drag my butt out of bed and I go and I exercise and I do my to-do list and I've got this whole daily routine, right? But I recently have just started. I just did it again this morning. I'm turning off my alarm, and if I want to sleep longer, I'm going to let myself sleep longer. Now, I still woke up this morning right at 4:30, and it was time to go, and I knew it. But it's like I decided last night. I'm like, I'm going to give myself. If I need to sleep more tomorrow, I'm going to let myself sleep. Because I mean, I'm in that
Yeah.
same loop though of like, gosh darn it, we got to get stuff done. I only got so much time here upon the earth. I got so much to do. Let's go. But it's not fair to us to really. I mean, you look back on life and it's like, wow, I've sure been kicking hard, but I need to enjoy life a little bit too. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it same. I'm in the same boat there. And I do, I was just reading a book where they said the happy is in the hard, or like doing hard things and
Of
like getting
course.
through it. Like there's a lot of happiness that comes out of that. And so I think the whole point being like it's okay to be on your phone or watching TV or doing something at times, but if it's like life consuming, then it's probably
Yeah,
not a
it's an
productive
issue.
habit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the part though, is giving ourselves the freedom to be okay, to just let things go and just enjoy that movie time, right? And it's
Right.
really sad that I look forward to being on a plane because I have that time to do that, right? I'm like, I love it. I've got 2 hours and I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here. But
My
yet,
phone's not going to ring.
exactly,
I'm
I
not going to
love
answer
it.
an email. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pay for the crappy internet, and I'm just gonna, and I can't. There's nothing I can do right now. It just be, and that's what I heard my son say. I can just be, Dad. And I'm like, oh crud, He's looking forward to
He
just
caught
being
on.
too.
Yeah.
So, you know,
When we were talking through in our intro call, one of the things I shared with you was I know the importance of process and procedure in a business.
yep,
I think I struggle at times with something that a lot of people do, which is, even if you go through and you're documenting processes, a lot of times the execution side of the process is difficult. And, I kind of look back into the early days of my career, and we had to go through an ISO 9000 thing for it was a diesel company that I was working for.
Yeah.
And they were very well run. We went through this and we had to write every process down to, to the finest detail. The hardest part I had with it was thinking in my head, okay, if I get a call on the phone, I don't have the time to open up the book and look for the process. Like the expectation is I know this. And I'm just interested. This is something I've always, like, I think I kind of know the answer to, and that, hey, maybe you should study that book a little bit more so that you
Yeah.
know what's in it. But what is the key to really truly getting good processes executed?
I love the book Checklist Manifesto.
I got to write that down. I have not read
Wonderful
that one.
book. So a buddy of mine's a plastic surgeon, and he's one of the best in the world. And I know that's a bold claim, but he really is one of the best in the world. And with him and I were talking, and we've worked on his vehicles for years, and he I really is a close friend, right? Somebody I go to lunch with, and somebody I respect highly. But him and I were talking, and I asked him, this was many years ago, and I said, Matt, I said, what do I do to make things better? And he says, you need to read this book. He's like, when I read this, it changed my life. And it did. And it changed my life too, because the checklist manifesto is all about how important it is to have checklists or procedures with everything. And it talks about, how certain planes that they do these certain things with, closing the door the right way, and how everything important has a procedure. And he's a plastic surgeon. Once again, with what his results are, is what has allowed him to be who he is today, right? He's just very strict. In fact, I've talked a lot of with a couple of his nurses that work in the OR with him right when he's operating, and everybody says the same thing. They're like, wow, he is like such a jerk in the operating room. He has to have things a certain way. And I've heard people that don't like him say that. They're like, he's just such a jerk in the operating room. But the ones that really like him, they're like, yeah, but he knows exactly what he wants, and it just has to be, he has things laid out a certain way, and he can do a surgery in half the time of everybody else because he has everything built down to a science of what it does. And if you have an extra tool out there, it's cluttering the works off the brain, the work area, everything. It's being cluttered because of this extra tool that's there. And he's been known to go in there to operate. And if things are not like how he wants them, he literally walks back out and has, then we'll go on to the next thing or whatever. And it's like a big deal because they're paid by their productivity. And so, very nice guy, but he just said, Darrin, he says, you need this for your business. He's like, I've been coming to you guys for years, but you guys need to get better at your quality control. You need to get better at doing this. And so he just talked to me through the importance of that. And then I read the book, and then it was like, wow, this is how you create a good customer experience, is by duplicating these things over and over and over again, and making sure your QCs are good, making sure the customer is happy, making sure that the till is counted at the end of the day. All those things add up to making your business successful, making your life successful, you know?
Oh,
So
that is good. That is good.
it's a great book, really good. You would probably read it and you'll be like, well, it's okay. Right. But to me, it was life changing because when I read it, I was like, well, why am I not doing this for every area of my life? Like, everything I've got my a checklist from today that I'm working on. I was listening to some training this morning when I was on my treadmill, and it's talking about 4 different phrases that I need to repeat first thing in the morning. So literally I have a thing that this is my checklist for today for my 4 new phrases I'm going to say tomorrow morning when I wake up. And so I've got a checklist for that, and I still need to finish it. But I'm going to have 2 minutes per thing of reflection time when I first get up in the morning, and to work on, becoming better, and improving myself. But it's a matter of thinking it through. It doesn't matter what process it is. We did this at Elite, and we built them. They're called bus books. So if Jay was hit by a bus tomorrow, who could step in and do what you do? Right? The podcast and all the other things you got going on at WrenchWay and all the awesome stuff you guys are doing for the industry. What happens if something was to happen to you, got hit by a bus? Who could step in and make sure that everything's going like it should?
Mm,
You know?
yeah.
So it's just so important that you think about those things, though. How do you get those good results for your clients? How do you, whatever it is you're wanting to do with your podcast here, how are you going to increase that reach? And then what do you do to make that happen? Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. And I think the way that you phrase that there is very helpful in process execution, right? Because maybe
Yeah.
you're, instead of thinking about reading 4 paragraphs long of of a process, it's bulleted, easy to
Oh, it has to
understand and
be.
easy to remember. Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
we all feel like we're all really self-important. We want to believe that what we're doing is that important. We want to light it out, but it has to be quick and to the point. I mean, just little bullet points so that it's easy for you to look at. Once again, I've got two of these cards I was just telling you about. I literally have two of them. And I'm writing them both down. They're both identical, but one's going to stay on my desk here. The other one's going to go up beside the bed, right? But it's like it has to be simple of what you're trying to do because if it's too much, I get bored and I'm like, I'm not going to read that. But this is
Right.
bullet points that are just like, okay, I got this. And that has to be the same way with what you're doing.
I think that's really important too as we go to the next generation where attention spans might not be the same as what they are
Of course.
today just because everything caters to like immediate
Yeah.
satisfaction. And so if you have a paragraph long written out of a description on something, you're probably going to have a tough time. Whereas if it's really quick hitters and easy
Yeah.
to understand, it's probably more likely that it's actually going to get done.
Correct. And I have no problem at all with a good description on top to explain why it's important. So that way, if I'm passing over something to you, Jay can look at it and he knows why this is important. And then the rest of the bullet points all need to be short and to the point, because once again, you don't want to read a 2-page thing about how to open your web browser, right?
Because then you'll just throw it away and start trying
Yeah.
to figure it out yourself. Yeah.
And if you have multiple windows open, you're going to use a lot more resources. And no, it's like it doesn't matter. Just tell me, just open one resource at a time. And if there's further questions, you can clarify that. Does that make sense? And I know that was not a good example, but
It
it's one of
does.
those things where, we give them too much information and people are just like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, good luck with that. I'll read through that when I get slowed up, okay? And then we never
How
get slow. So
uh, the people portion of a business, obviously you go through the time and the effort to write up processes. You need people that can execute on the processes that you're writing out. How it does, I don't want to ask this in a rhetorical sense, but just want to maybe ask a vague question around people and how important the right people are in a business.
oh my goodness. Okay, so that's a huge question. So I am a visionary from EOS, from Rocket Fuel. Okay. I have to have a team of integrators. I said a team, right? Because it's supposed to have just one integrator, but I have a team of them that I work with. Okay. And what that means is that, golly, yeah, I'm going to get attacked for this, but it's one of those things that I have to have strong people behind me to make sure these things happen because I have great dreams and I have all these crazy ideas, but I have to have a team to make sure that things happen. So one of the people on our team is she's just like so logical. It's crazy. And so when she came on board and she's like, Darrin, you have to get these fixed. We have to get these bus books. So she ran with it. And she's the one who made sure that everybody in our company did these bus books. And so guess what? We had some employee turnover, and you know what? How awesome it was to open up that bus book and to get the new person on board and say, "This is how everything is done." And it's like, oh my goodness. I know how important they are, but it's also I am not the best one to hold people accountable to do that. But I
Right.
have a team that does to make sure that those things are happening, that they are. Now, when I owned the shop, I had to do it myself, and that's just part of what it is. And then as you grow, you get people that allow you to get into your strengths. And my strengths are let's look at the future, let's figure out where we're going, let's love the future, and let's be excited about that. And then the team helps you to figure out how to make that happen. I mean, it's
Oh,
just, I mean, but it comes from working hard and figuring out how to do that, because when I was in the shop, I had to do it. I had to tell the team this is important and I had to do a lot of them myself just because it's just my business. Right. So,
how did your
yeah.
cadence go in those conversations? Because I feel like I'm probably very similar to you in that very much on the visionary side of things.
Yeah.
The execution side at times for me isn't my strength. I do feel like I've got a good sense of people and making sure I have the right people in place
Right.
who can, similar to what you were talking about, that integrator of really truly taking the ball and running with it. How when you were kind of maybe before that stage, uh, how was your communication style to be able to talk about that? I mean, is it in a group setting, in a team meeting? Is it one-on-ones with people? Is it how are you emphasizing what you wanted out of your business?
So I love the disc and I love culture index. and I love the personality assessments. To me, that was a huge wake up call to me when I'm doing that stuff and I realized that I'm a high I and a very high D, and my S and C are almost gone. And then seeing that, I'm what they call a trailblazer, which is only 3% of the population that has this weird character thing that I have. And so seeing that my weaknesses are very obvious, my whole team knows that I'm not good with the details. And so even today with our podcast, I'm messaging Hannah and I'm saying, I don't know where the notes are at. Can you find these? And she says, yeah, they're right here. She's another one of those integrators for me. That's just like when it comes to what I do with podcasts and stuff, I just reach out to her. She's got it all and I'm dialed, right? But that's not my strengths. And so my strengths is the other things and that I'm really good at, right? And so when we all took those personality assessments and all of a sudden we start seeing, wow, yeah, this is you to a T, and we're all saying that about each other, right? And then they're all like, because everybody knows you don't give me something really important to deal with that has a lot of detail, because I get bogged down and you'll lose me for 3 days doing something where it would have taken anybody else an hour or two to do. But my brain overthinks it. Then I go down these rabbit holes and it's like not my strength, you know? So I've got people that are really good with that. And they come to me then with a couple options of what the solutions are. And I say, yeah, let's run with that and let's do it. But that came from doing those assessments and really learning about myself and not going, wow, I'm just an idiot. I don't know why I can't remember these details and why it's so hard for me to figure this stuff out. It's like just not who I am, and that's okay. I can do it, but it's gonna. I mean, with Culture Index, it actually tells you that. I wish I had the report down here because I was just looking at it this morning where I am doing a lot of the opposites of where my strengths are. And that's why I've been running out of steam so much more than, out of energy, because it takes so much more energy for me to go do some of these things where people on my team love doing that anyway. Just like getting me up in front of a crowd. I love to do it. Let's go. Let's go. I want to share the story and let's move forward. And the rest of my team is like, no, I don't want to get up there. Don't even think about putting me up there. Right. But yet I
we're
love
this
it. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Right.
we're the same at WrenchWay. Like that. Everything you're saying is very similar to my experience
Yeah.
as well, right? And honestly, it took me a long time to figure that part out, that it was okay to have weaknesses and that
Yeah.
you weren't going to be good at some aspects of what maybe somebody else is, but your strengths also are probably really strong compared to somebody that has the strengths and your weaknesses, right? So uh, I think
Yeah.
this, for anybody that's, honestly, anybody that's working anywhere, right? It could be a leader, it could be that technician that's in the shop. Understand that you don't. I don't think that the expectation is that you're great at everything, but also have understanding when somebody else isn't great at everything as well, right? Like have that
Yeah.
empathy and be able to be understanding that, hey, you know what, maybe that tech next to you that's not strong mechanically might be great with electrical, right? And like
Yes.
that's like you guys, if you work together, create a really really strong team.
That's the thing is, I mean, you've talked about a lot in that last comment, because I think that for me personally, it was a huge thing for me to let go of the fact that the detail stuff was, I felt like I had to do it because it's a weakness, but you know what? I'm overcoming it and I'm going to beat it and I'm going to be a detail guy. But it's not what's best use of my time. And that's what rocket fuel and EOS, we've gone through the EOS process. And it's like, that's what I really learned is it's like, it's okay to be a dreamer. It really is. You just got to make sure that I run stuff through my integrators first to make sure that I'm not making the whole team keep changing direction midstream and then we're going off in some other new area, right? You use the tools and the structure in place to make sure that you're being the best use of your time. It's okay that you don't like talking to people. It's okay that it doesn't mean we don't have to do it, but it just means that we know that. Let's find people on our team that are good at that. And we lift up together rather than, I got to do it all. It's
Right.
like, yeah, we can do it all, but then we burn ourselves out, and wear ourselves out. We get grouchy and cranky and we're not being very productive because of the fact that we're not in our areas of strength. And so,
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And the difference at the end of the day, when you're in kind of your strength zones versus when you're not, it's night and day, right? If
yeah,
when you're working in your strengths, and my business partner Mark is a CPA by trade. He likes doing that kind of stuff, and I that is not my strength at all. Uh,
yeah,
but I think we complement each other very nicely because we have different strengths, and it is one of those things that, I think looking back over the course of my life, if I could tell somebody just coming into any industry, really, uh, a piece of advice is to truly embrace that part, right? Figure out what you're
Yes.
good at and figure out what you're bad at and be okay with what you're bad at and really work to what you're good at. And I think you're going to have a lot of
Yeah.
success.
Well, that's part of the secret of good business. I mean, I don't care if you're looking at Phil Knight and Bowerman with it, which is the guy that actually built a lot of the first shoes for Nike. Or you talk about Henry Ford and Henry and Kugler, and I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. Every successful person, Steve Jobs, right? He had Wozniak. It's like every successful person had somebody behind them that actually made sure that these dreams got taken care of and done. You got to have both,
Absolutely.
and it's okay to have dreams. It is, but then you got to have somebody to help you to get it done, to make sure that they're asking you those hard pointed questions. It's like, did you think this through yet? And you're like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to now. No, let's just go. It's like, well, no, well, wait a minute here. If we do this, we're going to have to take resources away from this. So are you sure you want to do this? What about this? What about this? What about this? That's part of that love-hate relationship that you have with a good visionary and an integrator, is having those two pieces to pull and make sure everything's done, just like you and your buddy, right? I mean, like your partner. It's just like you got to have those two parts at the end and the end, just like Chad and I in the shop. It's like we had to have those two different things to make it work.
Oh,
Everybody, I mean, I don't care who it is. Any successful person has had help from somebody. I don't care who it is.
absolutely.
They all have it. Look at Oprah Winfrey. She still has great people that have helped her to get to where she is. It doesn't matter who it is. Anybody, doesn't matter. They all had someone there to help them to make sure that things got done.
That is just great advice in general. And I think that we're already up on our hour of the podcast, which
Man,
is
that went quick.
crazy to me. That went really quick. And I feel like I have so many other things to ask you. And hopefully we'll be able to get you back on again at some point
Of
here,
course,
because
anytime.
this has been such a cool conversation. And I've learned a lot as we've gone through this. And even as you're talking through processes, I'm like, oh, that was kind of a light bulb moment for me where I'm like, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, no, I appreciate everything you're doing with all the shops. You are making a difference, and you're running one heck of a good company there at Elite.
Thank you. We try really hard. It's something that all the people on my team love helping people. In fact, it's one of our four, keywords, if you will, is people, and it's like so important that we always make sure we're improving and making people better. So yeah, that's why I'm so happy to be
Hey,
here with you guys, because you guys are making a difference too. You guys are actually trying to help out with the technician shortage, and you guys are actually doing the work. It's awesome. It's really
thank you
cool.
so much. That means a lot. Yeah, it's that's a big undertaking. We're working
Oh
on
my
it, and
goodness.
it's something where I think the more we get people aligned and on the same page, and just truly trying to, like what you guys are doing, and really creating better leadership and creating better owners, like that has a big impact on how much a shop can pay a tech and
Yeah.
how many benefits they can offer them and all of that type of stuff. That when I say everybody being aligned, I think that's a really really key piece, because that does maybe start to right the ship on our industry. And we've got a great industry, don't get me wrong, but I think there's so many
Yeah.
opportunities for all of us to really be able to have that big impact and make our industry kind of that elite industry sector
Right.
throughout all of them.
I agree 100% with you. One thing you asked me about earlier, is you just talked about, how to make sure your team is doing that, and getting them involved. And something we do with every one of our team meetings is we go over, those four words I was just talking about. And we used to have someone repeat our guiding principles. And guiding principles are like, what it is that makes our company special, right? So the new way we're doing this is, instead of us having these pre-printed guiding principles, we actually have the four words. And then in each meeting, at the end of the meeting, I'll ask one person, or whoever's conducting the meeting will have one person share a personal experience with how they know that one of ours is growth, right? So it's like, if you were in our group, I'd be like, hey, Jay, so today, would you mind sharing, how you know that we are focused on growth here at Elite? And what that does is instead of me giving you a printed out thing that you read and memorize, and then you tell it from my point of view from 20 years ago, no, this is coming from you. And you're going to say, well, actually, yeah, I was just talking to a shop owner and he was telling me about how he loves the facts that we're really good at getting results. And he was just talking about this, this, and this. So this is how I know that we at Elite get results because I've talked to the shop owners and they've told me that. And you're like, yeah, because then it comes from them personally, right? If
Yeah.
I ask you
Yeah.
that, it's like, why do you work for WrenchWay and why do you believe your core principles? And you're like, well, yeah, let me tell you, Darrin. I mean, we help people just like you told me just a minute ago, right? You're like, we are making a difference and we are doing this and it's hard. And it's like, but that comes from you rather than coming from the owner. You are an owner, but you know what I mean? It's like, it helps
Yeah.
out for all those that work with you. It's like they all believe in the process when in the company, when they have to think for themselves why they do it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it gets everybody kind of rowing in the same direction, right?
It does.
You're all, that shared
So important.
purpose and that bigger purpose. It's something that you guys have a lot of. And I commend all of you at Elite. Shout out to
Thanks.
Hannah for getting all of this set up. She was phenomenal.
She's awesome. Yeah, she's really good.
She is. She's really, really good. So I'd be remiss not to mention her and all of the help that she had along the way here. So Darrin, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Sure hope we can get you back on again in the future and talk even deeper on some of this stuff. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Of course, Jay, anytime, anything I can do to help, please let me know. I'd love to come back on or, whatever I can do to help you guys too, please let me know.
All right. Thank you.
And if
Darrin.
you want to go four-wheeling, I'm good too. So, I mean,
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah. You've got my cell phone number in there somewhere. And so just don't be afraid to text me. You got questions needing to find that duct tube for your defroster on your 77, which good luck. I can help you through that. I can also put the clutch bell crank or any of that other stuff too. So anyway,
I'll be hitting you up for sure. Hey, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, Jay, you have a great day, man. Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of Beyond the Wrench. If you liked this episode, please show your support by rating and following the podcast. You can also watch the video interviews on WrenchWay's YouTube channel. Speaking of WrenchWay, did you know Beyond the Wrench is managed and produced by the WrenchWay team? WrenchWay is an online community dedicated to promoting and improving automotive and diesel careers. We help technicians find the best shops to work at, and we also help auto, diesel, and CTE instructors get more support from local industry. You can learn more by visiting wrenchway.com.